WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hey, I declare unto you that God is our refuge, and in Him do we trust. Listen, we don't have to be afraid of sickness or disease. I want to let you know that God's got us, and it will be all right.
Got us locked in place, everybody sheltering in. But we slayed giants before, and now we gotta do it again.
Y'all gotta come together. We need everybody chipping in. 'Cause I need you, and you need me.
Everybody,
it's time to win.
Here we go, y'all.
It's gonna be alright.
I know it is.
It's gonna be alright.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
Put your hands together.
It's gonna be alright.
All over the world.
It's gonna be alright.
I came to let you know.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
No weapon formed against us shall prosper. We're more than conquerors through Him that loves us. You gotta keep the faith, no matter what it looks like. And I know you can't enjoy your thing. Some people even got their wings.
But in the bigger scheme of things, you're gonna recover it. It's gonna be alright.
Here we go, y'all.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be
It's
alright.
gonna be alright. Yes, I know it will. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Said it's gonna be. It's gonna be alright. Said it's gonna be alright. Telling you it's gonna be. It's gonna be alright.
I'm dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. Therefore, I shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The weapon may form, y'all, but it ain't gonna prosper. Come on.
It's gonna be alright.
All over the
It's
world.
gonna be alright.
Say it real loud.
It's gonna be alright.
Shout it out,
It's
y'all.
gonna be
Yeah. Say it again.
alright. It's gonna be alright.
That's right.
It's gonna be alright. Don't you give up. It's gonna be
give up.
alright. Don't you give in.
Don't you give in. We gonna win, y'all.
It's gonna be alright.
Say it with us.
It's gonna be alright.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be
You
alright.
gotta believe.
It's gonna be alright.
We're changing up the habits, people in the panic. Everybody standing on guard, so dramatic. I wonder who's got it. Suspicion's automatic. Turning into a case of who framed Roger Rabbit. Containment is the goal. We need that antidote. But no matter what happens, y'all got us in control. We in the coma from New York to Arizona. But I know the blood of Jesus is stronger than Corona.
It's gonna be alright.
Eat, baby.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
It's gonna be alright.
Can I get a witness?
It's gonna be
United we stand.
It's gonna be alright.
We made it.
It's gonna be alright.
You made it.
It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright.
I'm just trying to encourage somebody today. Don't give up. God is stronger than anything that we face. United we stand. That's right.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you? It is Monday. It is Monday before election. I hope everybody has registered and I hope you're ready. But again, hello, it's Edna Bell. You're here with the Community Bell Show on WVTC Radio Detroit. We are so happy to have you with us today. It's a lovely summer day, wonderful day in August, first Monday in August. And we want to say thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're going to talk about just me and you today, not having any guests, just me and you. If you have a question, you can dial it in or call it in or send us a question, and we'll try to answer if we possibly can, or at least send you to where you can get the answer. So right now, I want to talk about two things. Election. Today is Monday, August the 2nd. Tomorrow is Tuesday, August the 3rd. And for those of us here in the metropolitan area and probably all over the state, it's election day. If you're in Detroit, election is a big, big deal this year. There are officers that are going to be voted on. First of all, you're going to be voting for mayor. Do know that the mayor's term is a 4-year term. There are 10 people running for the mayor of the city of Detroit. And what will happen, you say, with 10 people running? Well, the 2 top vote getters will go on to the November election. What will happen tomorrow is the primary. And what the primary does is to whittle those 10 people down to just 2. It will be the 2 top vote getters. And I know you guys have seen signs all over the city and all over the metropolitan area, because it's Southfield, it's every place. Everybody's voting. All of the places in Wayne County, Westland, Dearborn, you name it, they're voting tomorrow. First Tuesday in August. Polls open at 7 o'clock in the morning and they close at 8 o'clock in the evening. Again, they open at 7 in the morning and they close at 8 o'clock in the evening. Now, why is that important? That's important because you can't say, oh, I got to work. I don't know anybody who's working from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. And if you are, kudos to you. But you get a lunch break. So get to some poll and vote tomorrow. Make sure you have your ID when you go to the polls, because if you go to the wrong location, at least they can tell you what the right location is. If they can see your ID with your address on it, they will be able to tell you what your right location is. If you have received an absentee ballot, do not drop it in the mail. Do not drop it in the mail. There are drop boxes all over the city that can be used today, not tomorrow, but today. Do not drop your absentee ballot in the mail today. Take it to one of the many drop boxes that have been provided around the city. And if you can't find a drop box, take it down to the clerk's office on the boulevard. But there are drop boxes all over the city. For locations for those drop boxes, you can call the clerk's office. You can go online to City of Detroit Clerk, and they will be able to provide the locations. But please drop it in a drop box today. Not tomorrow, today. Polls will open again at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and they will close at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. Now, as I said, you're going to be voting for several offices in the city of Detroit. You're going to be voting for the mayor of the city of Detroit. There are 10 people running for mayor. You will vote for one of those persons. Just one. The top 2 vote getters will be the 2 people who will go on to the general election in November. You will be voting for city council. There are 9 city council seats. 2 city council seats will be voted at what we call at large, which means that those 2 people are running to represent the entire city. There are 2 seats that will be at large. There are several people running for those 2 seats. The people who get the most votes, the top 2 people who get the most votes, will be the people who will go on to the November general election. So you will vote for one person tomorrow for city council. For at large, you'll vote for 2 people tomorrow at large for city council. You will vote for 2 people for the 2 at large seats for city council. The 4 top vote getters will be the 4 that you will vote for in November. So the 4 top vote getters from the primary tomorrow will go on to the November election. And in November, you will vote for 2 people. Those 2 people will represent, whoever wins will represent you as at-large members of the Detroit City Council. Now, there are 7 other seats that will be voted on tomorrow. There are 7 different districts in Detroit. 7 districts in Detroit. You will vote for one person for each one of those districts. So wherever you live, you will vote for one person. If you live in downtown Detroit, near downtown Detroit, you'll be voting for one person. That's District 5. If you live on the west side of Detroit, anywhere around the Warrendale area, the aviation subdivision, that's District 7. You'll vote for one person. If you are up in the Rosedale Park area, you'll vote for one person. If you're on the east side, far east side, Outer Drive and Ryan, Outer Drive and DeQuinder, you'll vote for one person. If you're southwest, you'll vote for Mexican Village. You'll vote for one person. If you are on the far east side, let's say you're Jefferson Chalmers area, you'll vote for one person. So don't go in there thinking you're going to vote for 1 or 2 or 3 people. You will vote for one person to represent that particular district. So when you go in the voting booth, you're going to be voting for 3 city council people. 1 for your district and 1 to represent at large and another to represent at large. So there's 3 people you're going to vote for. Remember that. Do your homework. Go see who those people are. So see who's running. See if their views are similar to your views and if they believe in the same things that you believe in. And base your vote on something other than just, I don't like them. Base your vote on, I think this person is going to do a good job to represent me and what my issues are. I've got a question here that says, do we know which council persons are not coming back? Yes. Councilwoman Castellano Lopez, who represents the southwest side of the city, is not running for re-election. She will not be back. Council President Brenda Jones is not running for re-election. Council President Brenda Jones is an at-large representative. And so we will have a new at-large representative in her spot. Council Member Spivey is not running for re-election. Council Member Spivey represents the east side of Detroit, kind of what I call the mid-east side of Detroit. And so he is not running for re-election. So the council person who was in District 7, who is no longer in that seat because he had some legal difficulties, is not running for re-election. That would have been Mr. Councilman Gabe Leland. He is not running for re-election. So you have Councilwoman Castellano Lopez, who represents the southwest side of the city. You have Councilman Spivey, who represented the east side of the city. You have Council President Brenda Jones, and you have Councilman Gabe Leland, who represented the west side of the city, aviation subdivision, and so on. There are 4 of them who are not running for reelection. So you'll see 4 new names. You'll see some new blood on the council. But do your homework. Decide what district you're in and what those people who want you to give them your vote. Decide what it is they want to do with the city. Decide what their values are. Decide how they want to do things financially and community-wise and business-wise and education-wise. Find out what they believe in to see if those views are the same views that you have. Then cast your educated vote based on the research that you've done. Don't vote just because you didn't like somebody or they didn't wear something that you thought was pretty neat or their hair didn't look real great on one day. Please don't use those things as reasons to vote for or not vote for someone. Find out what they really believe in. Find out where they want to see the city going. Find out what they've done in the past. Oftentimes, the past that someone has done will predict their future. So find out if they've been involved in the community. Find out if they are involved in the kinds of things that you want to be involved in. And cast your vote based on that, not just whether somebody did so and so, somebody didn't do something. Don't do that. So that's the mayor and the city council. What else is up for re-election? Your police commissioners are up for election. Police commissioners, again, also are district people. So find out what district you're in and find out what your police commissioner's name is and who's running for that position and why they're running for that position, what they've done in the past that would qualify them to hold that position. Do they believe in the same kind of things that you believe in? Vote for the person that you believe is going to do the best job for your community. That would be your police commissioners. And you've got city clerk. City clerk not only runs the elections, I know that's what we hear all the time about city clerk, but the city clerk runs the elections. And the city clerk also, it serves as the clerk to the city council. So when they're having city council meetings, you will see people taking notes and giving information. Those people work for the clerk of the city of Detroit. The clerk's election office is located on West Grand Boulevard. But the clerk's office where she does and the clerk does a lot more than run elections, even though that's the one we hear about most of all. The clerk does a lot of other things other than run elections. And so her office is in the city council building, the Coleman A. Young Municipality building at 1 Woodward Avenue. That's where the clerk's office also is. The elections office is on the boulevard. The clerk's office that does all the things that the clerk does for the city of Detroit is located in the Coleman A. Young Municipal Building. So you've got the clerk, you've got city council, you've got police commissioners, and you've got the mayor. Now, the other thing you've got is Proposal P. And I know you're hearing all sorts of stuff about Proposal P. And we're going to talk about Proposal P. And if you have a question about Proposal P, I'll try my best to answer it in a neutral way based on the information I've read. And boy, have I been reading a lot trying to get an understanding, because I had to understand what Proposal P was also. So Proposal P is the proposal that determines how the city is going to be governed. It is our charter. And the charter is kind of like the Constitution of the United States. It directs our city government as to how we want them to function. How do the citizens of the city of Detroit want the city to be governed, and how do they want it to function? As you probably already know, Detroit is what's called a strong mayor form of government, which means the mayor pretty much is the administrator of the city and runs the city. The city council is the legislative body, which provides your legislation about issues that pertain to the city. And they have to approve many of the things that the mayor does. So when you oftentimes see the mayor going before the city council or the mayor's representative going before the city council, they're doing that because the mayor proposes, the legislature disposes. They determine if, in fact, they're going to allow him to do certain things. And so he has to take certain things before the city council in order for him to be able to run certain parts of the city. I've got a question here that says, why would we want to put the responsibility of reparation on the city of Detroit? Wouldn't that be a federal issue? I believe that reparations is a federal issue. There are those that believe that municipalities have a responsibility for reparations. I believe that reparations is a federal issue simply because it was the federal government who allowed slavery. It wasn't a particular city could not have had the power to say that slavery was going to exist. It was the United States federal government that did that. And interestingly enough, our children don't know enough about how that came about. I know enough about what went on during slavery times, and we're talking recent history. We're talking up to the mid-'60s before voting rights were made a permanent part of our Constitution. So this isn't something that happened back in the 1800s. And yes, it did, but it also happened in the 1900s. So I think reparations is a federal issue. I understand why there are other cities putting it on state and local municipality ballots. But I don't know that local municipalities have the wherewithal to compensate for what was done during slavery. I would not want them to take away from the funds necessary to help citizens in our city. But I think that should be a federal function. It ought to be federal dollars that come from the entire country that provide those reparations. So that's going to be something that's going to be debated. But there is something on the city council just passed something that said they were going to review reparations at the city level. So it will be interesting. I'm going to be watching it very closely to see how that works out and what kinds of things are recommended for reparations locally. Now, I know there is a city, and I can't remember where that city is, somewhere in the Midwest that has decided they're going to look at reparations locally. And I'm going to have to do some more research to find out how they're doing that. But I did hear that there is a city in the Midwest that has done that, a smaller city, and they've done that. So I've got to look at that and see just how they propose to provide reparations for their residents in that city. So that's going to be a question that's going to be, I think, debated by lots and lots of people. And reparations, I believe, is included in Proposal P. Again, I don't know how that is going to work. I go back to, I don't think that we should be taking money away from our current budget locally to pay for reparations that should be paid for nationally. And I just got some information. Evanston, Illinois is the city that has put reparations into a proposal in their city. And I did hear a little bit about how they're doing that. I've got to do some more research on how Evanston, Illinois is going to look at reparations for their city. It's going to be an interesting topic. And I think it's going to be a topic that's going to be talked about from not just Detroit and Evanston, Illinois, but for cities around the country. A part of what Proposal P is asking also is that we provide different community organizations to look at what's going on in the city. And so we'll see. It's going to be an interesting race. You know, there are pros and cons on both sides. You've got one side that says Proposal P is going to be too expensive and it's going to cost us to go into bankruptcy. You've got the other side that said that's not true. It will not put us into bankruptcy. So we'll see which one is going to be the prevailing sentiment of the people of the city of Detroit. I only attended one meeting of the Charter Commission. I did have the chairperson of the Charter Commission and the attorney on the show back in, geez, it seems so long ago. This is 2020, back in 2019. The chairperson of the Charter Commission and the attorney were on the Community Bell show to talk about the proposed, what they were looking at in terms of changing the charter and how the charter would be handled. So I am really excited to see what is going to happen with the outcome of the election tomorrow. Both sides are very adamant about their positions. And so we'll just see. Whatever it is, I just hope that we can still come together and do the best that we can for the citizens of the city of Detroit. I've lived here all my life, and so I'm excited about continuing to move this city forward. And as we talk about that, I'd like to talk about something else, and that is an event I went to last week, and it was the placing of a historical marker in Lafayette Park on Lafayette, across the street from Chrysler Elementary School, which is between Rivard and St. Alban on Lafayette. And the historical marker is one designated to cite that portion of the area as Black Bottom. It was really a very interesting, and I was really moved by the people who were there and the people who spearheaded the effort to get that marker put together. And they had worked diligently over the last several years. One of the young men, the gentleman there, because it doesn't appear you have to write letters. You have to put together information. The Michigan Historical Commission organization has to approve it. And then once they approve it, they don't pay for it. They just say it's approved. Then you have to go out and raise the money to have the marker put down. And so the people who are part of the Black Bottom group did that. They raised the dollars. They put the verbiage on the signs. So if you have time, go by Lafayette Park. It will be on the south side of the street between 1300 Lafayette and the new Descharmes apartment buildings right across the street from Chrysler Elementary School. And it is a lovely plaque that designates that area as a historic site for Black Bottom. Now, for those of you who don't know, Black Bottom is a part of the city of Detroit, downtown east side, that was a historical area because that's where Black people congregated when they moved up here in droves from the south to get the jobs, the factories, escape a lot of the racism that was going on and deaths that were going on in the south. And it is between what is now known as I-375 and McDougal. Now, if you knew about Black Bottom, I-375 was Hastings Street. Back in the late 40s, 50s, they started the process of moving Black families out of Black Bottom. Now, Black Bottom was called that because of the soil, not because of the people who were there, but the soil was so very, very rich, and it was farmland initially. And when you see the streets, Hastings and Rivard and Joseph Campo and St. Alban, many of those were French names because the French and other immigrants came to that area before the Black people came up from the south to that area. And those strips of land between, let's say, Rivard and St. Alban and Joseph Campbell, those were plots of land that were farmed. It was farmland that came up from the river, and each one of those, they were farmed. That was farmland. And as different people moved in, and different societies and different groups of people moved in, and others moved out, the streets became, the farmland actually became streets. The people who moved up from the South, the Black folk, as a matter of fact, at that time, there were Italians and Germans and French, Jewish people, they all lived in that area. But what happened in probably the late 40s, mid to late 40s, after World War II, and Cobo became the mayor in late 40s, and he was a racist, I'll just say it. And the federal government, because of World War II, were providing loans for families and people who had been in the war to be able to buy homes. Well, those white families and Jewish families and Greek families and French and German families were able to get the loans to buy homes to move out of Black Bottom. Cobo would not allow they would not give the Black families the loans to move out. And so eventually the other races and all the other ethnicities moved out, and it left it with basically Black families who lived there. And as you look at the area, many of our major churches had their genesis in Black Bottom. Second Baptist Church, oldest Baptist church in the state. Look where it's located. It's on Monroe Street in Greektown. Now, why, you say, would a Black church be located in Greektown? Well, the church was there before. Black people were there before. The Greeks came afterwards and named it Greektown, but it was Black before that. There were many churches that in the area that were started by Blacks. St. John's Presbyterian Church, St. John's, Lafayette, and St. Alban. I mean, there's churches all over that area that were founded by Black people. And then they had moved out and had their branches all over the area. I grew up, I was born in Black Bottom. I was born at Trinity Hospital, the first Black hospital in the city. Trinity Hospital was on Verner Street in Black Bottom. We all know where Verner is now, where it meets Gratiot. But before 375 was built, Verner was a street that ran into Hastings Street that had the hospital on it. I was born in Black Bottom at Verner Hospital. My grandmother lived on Macomb Street, right off of Hastings. We visited her often because once I was born, we stayed there for a while. Then they began to build the housing projects, and we moved from Black Bottom to Royal Oak Township, a Black enclave of housing that was built for many of the people who were coming up here to work in the factories. And my father worked for General Motors, and so we were able to move out to Royal Oak Township, where it was a great place to grow up. I had a great time. I got a great education. There was one school there. We all went to George Washington Carver Elementary School. And so it was a great place to grow up. But Black Bottom was a thriving community, had many, 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 many Black-owned businesses. Barthwell's Drugstore was in Black Bottom. Black Bottom was where you went for entertainment, the Flames Show Bar. All sorts of people came into Black Bottom from around the country because of the entertainment, the food, clothing, you name it. It was a great place to live. And I'm going to talk a lot more about Black Bottom because I'm going to bring something that's called the Green Book. And you probably remember the Green Book from the movie, The Green Book. Well, there is a real Green Book. I happen to have one. It's from 1947. part of my brother's legacy that he left. And it has all of the businesses that were in Detroit, Black-owned businesses, and the book is a couple of inches thick, two-sided, of Black-owned businesses on Macomb Street and Hastings Street and all of those places that if you didn't live around here, you wouldn't know. If you didn't live before 375 was there, 375 wiped out Black Bottom. Wiped it out. I'm going to have a gentleman come on in the next few months that has a great history of what happened in Black Bottom and how what they call urban renewal was really Negro removal because the land was so important and so valuable. And they immediately started building on it. They built the apartments or the townhouses that are right next to Chrysler Elementary School on Lafayette and Rivard. They built 1300 Lafayette. They built Lafayette East and West. They built all those places when they moved the Black people out and destroyed Black Bottom. And of course, the Black folks couldn't afford all of those items, those streets, those homes, so they were moved out. So there's quite a history to be told about what happened in Black Bottom. But the good news is that there is this marker that designates that Black Bottom really did exist, because sometimes these things happen and people don't even know they existed. Miller High School was middle school, and I'll tell you a story about that also at another time. But Miller was where many of our people went to school. They were at Eastern before. However, when too many Black kids started going to Eastern, they said, well, let's give them their own school. And that's how Miller became a high school. Coleman Young was probably the last graduating class out of Eastern High School. Many of the other prominent persons in the city graduate from Miller School, and they have a reunion the first week in August. It'll be coming up this weekend, Miller Middle School reunion. It's a huge reunion. They start bringing in those RVs on Wednesday and Thursday, and if you've never seen the Miller reunion, it is quite something to behold. The Miller reunion is on the grounds of the old Miller High School. Miller High School is now a charter school, but they still go back every year and have the Miller reunion, and there's so many people you can hardly get through the streets, Shane and St. Albans, all those streets during that time. But there's quite a history associated with Miller School at Eastern and all of the area around the Black Bottom area. So we're going to talk about that a lot more because it's our history and it's important. Our children don't know it. I'm busy telling my grandkids that, and they look at it and they say, well, how could 375 live in Hastings? And I'm showing them some interesting information, some maps, old maps I pulled up, and I showed them a green book and show them how vibrant the area was. I'd sit on my grandmother's porch and watch all sorts of traffic and all sorts of people around Macomb Street. It was quite a place. It's our history, and we need to follow it. We need to let people know, particularly we need to let our children know. I think that it's something that you're going to hear more and more about. But it was that dedication was really, really very important to me. My brother was a historian and did documentaries about the life in Black Bottom and about the life of the entertainment and the people who lived in those areas, the people who entertained. And it's quite interesting. I'm going to talk more about that. And one of these days, show a video about all the things that he did. And he documented about the area that my grandmother lived in, my parents lived in, the area I was born in the old Trinity Hospital, the first Black hospital in the city that trained Black doctors. So it's quite a story, and you're going to hear more about it. But I am so glad I had a chance to talk to all of you. I could talk more. I didn't intend to talk completely all by myself, but I did. Wow. It's been a great Monday. Hopefully the information you received today was something that you didn't know, something that you needed to know. But if not, we're going to bring you some more information that you need to know. You probably don't even know all the things you need to know, but Black Bottom is a story you do really need to know about. Go by and see that marker, that historical marker that sits on Lafayette between Brevard and St. Albans. Read it on both sides. There was an article in the paper last week about it. So if you can pull that up and read it, it's just good. It's just good to know where you came from and to know that you come from really, really smart, strong people. That's the Community Bell Show for today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you next week, and next week is the second Monday, so that must be Real Estate Monday. And boy, is real estate popping in the city of Detroit. Take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Please go vote tomorrow. Please vote tomorrow. Your life depends on that vote. Please vote tomorrow. Mayor, City Council, Proposal P, and the Police Commissioner. Vote. Take care. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Shirley. I appreciate your listening. Shirley Johnson, we appreciate you.
WVTC Radio Network, in conjunction with Vibe In Radio, present Power Praise 2021. Saturday, August 21st at Cross Point Park, 2801 West 167th Street in Hazel Crest. Featuring Bishop Hezekiah Walker and LFC. Donald Lawrence and Company. Along with Stellar Award winner Mark Hubbard, Lanesha Tyson, and Crystal Sykes. Hosted by Ramon Berry, Sandy Rose, Dr. Russell B. Harris Sr., and Evangelist Teresa Sykes. Gates open at 5, show starts promptly at 7. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster or watch it live on pay-per-view-live-events.com. Come early to get specially discounted tickets. Power Praise 2021, Chicago's biggest gospel event of the year, featuring Bishop Hezekiah Walker and LFC, Donald Lawrence and Company, Mark Hubbard, Lanesha Tyson, and Crystal Sykes. Saturday, August 21st at Cross Point Park, 2801 West 167th Street in Hazel Crest. For more information, visit WVTCRadio.com.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit,